She used to wear yellow. Always yellow. And every Sunday at 3 p.m., she'd meet me at the bench near Bethesda Fountain in Central Park. Same spot. Same smile. Same nervous giggle when I read her poetry I pretended to write. Then one Sunday, she didn't come. I waited for 5 hours in the rain. And just like that, she became the ghost of my youth. I never saw her again. Until last month. When I walked through that park for the first time in 48 years. And saw her sitting there. Wearing yellow. With my name written on the last page of a journal I never knew existed. New York City, June 1975. The city was a different beast back then. Louder. Grittier. Subway cars covered in graffiti. Strangers actually looked you in the eye. I was 20. James Carter. Brooklyn-born. Second-year literature student. Thought I'd be the next Hemingway. I wasn't. But I did carry a notebook around like one. That's how I met her. She sat on a bench in Central Park with a red Walkman and a piano sheet notebook. I asked if she was waiting for someone. She said she was someone who loves words. I told her I loved words. She rolled her eyes and said, "Then say something that doesn't sound like you stole it from a book." So I said, "I think I just met my plot twist." She laughed. And stayed. Her name was Eleanor Davis. But she liked to be called Ellie. Lived in Harlem. Played piano in her church. Wanted to become a music teacher. Said her dad wouldn't allow it. Said she didn't care. We started meeting every Sunday at the same bench. Bethesda Fountain. 3 p.m. No phones. No texts. Just faith. Some Sundays, we read poetry. Others, we sat in silence, feet in the fountain, watching the chaos of the city blur behind us. We were poor, dreamers, clueless. But alive. Then came August 10th. I remember the date. Because it was hot. Too hot to be outside, but she came anyway, wearing yellow. Again. You know yellow is the color of caution? I teased. She smiled. Or hope. That's when I told her I loved her. She didn't say anything. Just kissed me. We made plans that night, bold, stupid ones. We'd move to Boston. I'd teach. She'd join a music academy. We'd rent a crummy apartment and burn instant ramen. All she had to do was convince her parents to let her go. "Give me 1 week," she said. Next Sunday. Same time. Same bench. I came early. Bought her a yellow flower. Had my suitcase beside me. I was ready. 3 p.m. 4 p.m. 5 p.m. No Ellie. No call. No letter. No goodbye. I waited in the rain until dark. The next day, I went to her apartment in Harlem. A stranger opened the door. Said the Davis family had moved out 2 days ago. No forwarding address. Just gone. I spent years thinking I'd done something wrong. Did her father find out? Did she change her mind? Was she hurt? Or just uninterested? Time passed. I graduated, moved, worked, traveled. But I never married. Never found a love like that again. She stayed frozen in my memory, 18, fearless, and always in yellow. I hadn't been back to Central Park in decades. It's funny how time doesn't just change places, it changes your courage too. The world moved on. Phones got smarter. People got colder. But something inside me never really left 1975. I came back to New York for a funeral. My cousin. Afterwards, I had a few hours to kill before my train. So I walked. Not on purpose. My feet just led me there. Same old bench. Slightly shinier. New paint. But it was still the bench. I don't know what I expected. Certainly not her. But there she was. Ellie. Sitting. Wearing a mustard yellow cardigan. A leather-bound journal in her lap. Her hair was white now. Pulled into a low bun. Face softer. Wrinkled. But those eyes? Same as they were at 18. Sharp. Sad. And burning. She didn't notice me at first. She was writing something. Then suddenly she looked up, straight at me. Not past me. Not through me. At me. Like she'd been expecting this moment. I froze. She stood. And said, almost too calmly, "You waited for me that day, didn't you?" I nodded. 4 hours. She bit her bottom lip, still a nervous habit, I guess. "You never married," I said, half as a statement, half as a question. "Neither did you." We didn't hug. Not yet. We just sat. Two old people. Two lost decades. One bench. One story not quite finished. I asked what happened. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just gently. "You said you'd come back." 1 week. What happened? She looked down at her hands. They were trembling slightly. Then, she opened her journal. Pulled out a folded, faded piece of paper. It was a letter. Dated August 9th, 1975. "I wrote this the night before. I was supposed to hand it to you at the park." I opened it. It read, "James. My father found our letters. He tore up your photo, screamed until my ears rang, and locked me inside my room. He said if I saw you again, he'd disown me, or worse, hurt you. I didn't believe him until I saw what he did to our dog the next day. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I want to come. But I can't. Not now. Maybe not ever. Please don't hate me. Please don't forget me. Your yellow girl. Ellie." My hands were shaking now. She never got to give me the letter. And I never stopped thinking she just left. I asked why she never tried to find me. She smiled, broken. I did. I came to the park for 6 Sundays after that, hoping you'd be there. Then my parents moved us to Chicago overnight. No phones. No address. Just vanished. I nodded. My voice cracked. I looked for you, too. Called every Davis in the phone book. Even mailed letters. Never got anything back. We sat in silence. Until she asked. So why now? Why come back to this bench after all these years? I looked at her. Really looked. Because I had one last wish before I die. To know whether the girl in yellow ever loved me back. Her eyes filled. Tears, soft and silent. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded napkin. On it were 2 dried petals. Sunflower. I've been keeping this since 75. From the flower you brought that day. I kept it because I did love you. She reached across the bench and held my hand. Soft. Fragile. But warm. Do you still write poetry? She asked. Only in my head. Then say something now. I smiled. Looked up at the trees. Then back at her. I waited for a lifetime. But I'd wait all over again. Just to hear you say. You didn't forget. Brain. We sat there for a while. Said very little. Because sometimes, silence is the only language that past understands. Eventually, she asked me the question I'd avoided for decades. Do you regret not moving on? I looked at her hands. Still soft. But no ring. Not once. She smiled, the kind of smile people give when they've spent decades carrying guilt no one else can see. Everyone told me I was stupid, she said. For not dating. For not settling. For not healing. I did heal. I just never forgot who broke me. I nodded. You didn't move on either? She shook her head. She opened her journal again. Inside it were small keepsakes. A subway token from 1975. A folded page from a poetry book, circled verses we used to read. Even a black and white Polaroid of us, slightly water damaged, but whole. Then she pulled out something I never expected. A ring box. Inside was a simple gold band. Untouched. Never worn. I bought it the year I turned 35, she said quietly. I was going to marry myself. Just so people would stop asking. She laughed bitterly. But I couldn't do it. Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw you, waiting at that bench in the rain. She told me about her life after Chicago. She taught piano at a public school for 28 years. Lived in a studio apartment. No husband. No kids. Had a cat named Hemingway. Died in 2019. She once saw someone who looked like me in Boston, followed him for 4 blocks, but it wasn't me. I guess some of us don't get to start over. I looked at her. Maybe we're the lucky ones. Lucky? Yeah. Because we found the kind of love that never left. Even when we did. I told her about my life too. I moved to Boston. Taught high school English. Retired last year. Never married. Never stopped wondering what I did wrong. She asked if I ever wrote her after the park. I nodded. One letter. I didn't send it. I left it inside a poetry book in the New York Public Library. She gasped. Which book? Walt Whitman. Leaves of Grass. Page 79. She blinked. Then laughed. Pulled her journal out again. Inside was a yellowed paper, folded small. My handwriting. You found it? In 1984. I was passing through New York. I stopped by the library. Opened that book out of habit. Why didn't you call? There was no number. And maybe I was scared you'd moved on. We sat again. Same bench. Same breeze. Same questions we once thought only the young asked. So, now what? She said, eyes still watery. I smiled. We're not 20 anymore. We've missed a lifetime. But I still have some time left. And I have a spare key. To an apartment filled with yellow pillows, piano books, and one very lonely teapot. We both laughed. Then we didn't. Because sometimes the heart doesn't need years to decide. Sometimes it just waits for the right moment to remember what it always knew. Red heart. We walked together for the first time in 48 years. Down the same winding paths of Central Park. Her steps slower now. My knees stiffer. But our shadows still danced beside each other, like they used to. We didn't talk much that day. Not because we didn't want to. But because we finally didn't need to. The days that followed were quiet, simple, and filled with things that would mean very little to the world, but everything to us. We'd meet at 9 a.m. Sit by her piano. She played Debussy. I read poetry out loud, badly, but she never said a word. We cooked grilled cheese sandwiches together. Watched the rain from her balcony. Went to old bookstores and tried to find our memories between the dusty pages. Once, I found a postcard we sent each other when we were 19. Mine said, "Don't forget me. Even if life makes you." Hers said, "I couldn't if I tried." We didn't talk about marriage. Or lost years. Or what if. We just existed. With the kind of grace that only comes when you're too old to chase anything but peace. One evening, I told her. I spent my whole life grading essays about love. But I never really understood it until now. She smiled. You always were better with words. A few months passed. Then, one cold November morning, I came to her apartment with coffee and a dog-eared copy of Neruda's poems. She didn't answer the door. I let myself in. She was on the couch, wrapped in a yellow blanket. A book in her lap. A photo of us on the table beside her. She looked peaceful. Like she just finished the story she waited half a century to complete. In her journal, on the very last page, she had written, "James, I waited for you at the bench. Life got in the way, but love never did. Thank you for coming back. You made these last months feel like the life I always dreamed of. If you're reading this, I'll see you by the fountain, just like always. Every Sunday, 3 p.m. Wear something yellow. Ellie." Some people spend their lives chasing fireworks. We were just two old souls who found warmth in the ashes. We didn't get forever. We didn't get youth. But we got something better. A second chance, when we'd stopped believing they even existed. So if you're still holding on to a love that time tried to bury, maybe it's not too late. Maybe the bench is still there. And maybe they're still waiting.